Welcome back to Citizen Extra. We're well into the second hour on Citizen TV. My name is Wahiga Mwaura. Shortly, we will be carrying on with our discussion on Kenya's debt. Should we be worried? What are some of the key issues? And of course, you can talk to us once again on 22422, our SMS line, and on social media as well. We are also monitoring the situation at the county offices in Nyeri County, where prayers are going on as we speak. A ceremony there to quote-unquote cleanse the county or the county offices after a very tough year where two governors have lost their lives while in office. And so some very intense prayers have been going on at that location, which informed have just ended. And so we expect that they'll give some sort of speeches or something will happen there. And as soon as we get that update, we'll go back to Nyeri County. Of course, something that's never quite happened before, not that I've heard of, so we're not quite sure what their program is. But Martin Munene, our correspondent there, is monitoring the scene of the situation, and he will be giving us updates. They were in the boardroom, but they've now gone to the offices of the governor. And I think they might carry on with their prayers there as well. You can see those images on your screen, live from Nyeri County.
We want to God has taught us in His word that we should not be ignorant of the devices of the devil. And the research that has been conducted, which has a lot of backing from the scriptures. If you read even in the book of Acts, there was a young girl who was going around using charms. And to avoid any doubt, we want to dedicate this share of authority. This is a seat of authority. And we want to...
Well, those are some of the prayers just about to take place in the office of the governor at the county government offices in Nyeri County. Of course, we'll be going back there periodically to give you updates. Meanwhile, we are also talking to our correspondent in Mombasa County shortly, Asha Bekidusa, who will also give us an update on what Mombasa residents feel about the state of the economy, the fact that Kenya might soon be looking for new debt, and that Kenya is also requesting its international lenders to help refinance or rather extend the period of maturity of some of the debts that Kenya owes some of these international players as well. What is the take of Mombasa residents? Asha Bekidusa will shortly be giving us an update. But let's carry on with our discussion here in studio. We talked to Maurice Oduora, investment manager at Saiton, and Harun Washira, a social entrepreneur. Maurice, coming back to you, some say that debt in itself is not bad. However, bad uses of debt or poor sourcing of debt is the issue. Do you agree? There are those who say debt completely wrong from the start. They cannot even touch debt. But can countries use debt to their benefit? And do you have examples off the top of your head of any countries that have actually been able to manage their debt well?
Yes, debt is not the issue. The issue is how you source for it and how you utilize it. A good example, even if you have to go for a bank loan, for a personal loan, you'll need now to sit down and do everything and do calculation. How am I going to use this and what will I get in return? That's exactly what the government need to do. We need to go for debt for specific projects, and we know whatever impact that project is going to have in an economy will enable us to pay that, to service that loan. Okay. That's what we need to do. And if you look at a number of countries that nowadays we refer to as Asian tigers, what have they gone through? They have gone through all this process, and they have now come to a point now they are efficiently managing their debt, and they are efficiently and sort of like cheaply sourcing for their debt. That's what the government needs to do.
If you were to have the year of CS Rotich, would you advise him to consider a new Eurobond next year, or would you call for some sort of radical measures? How would you, because remember, there are some debts that are due next year, at least two of them. You talked about 2019, you talked about 2022. So we have to keep repaying, that's for sure. What would you tell him if you had?
I would tell him to go for austerity measures and cut down on the government expenditure, so that at least whatever we collect would enable us to service this debt. That's the only way around. If you look at even sometimes back, remember when the time back Nyachayo was the finance minister, when he said we are broke, we cannot live like this. When Nyachayo was fired the next day. That's exactly what Rotich needs to do. We need to come to reality that we can't continue operating like this. We will not be able to service this debt. We need to cut down on our expenditure. The solution to Kenyan debt crisis lies on public finance management framework.
Aaron?
Yeah, well, if I were in his shoes, I would have two departments. One, whereas I may not precisely be able to stop borrowing for the immediate because it's already coming, I would have a very, very detailed focus on the side of a mechanism to integrate efficiencies and efficiencies in what we are doing at the moment. I would benchmark everything against international standards. If we are doing development projects, I would make sure that each one of them is executed very, very, very efficiently. And that's very, very, very tough work to be done. And then I would look for opportunities of programs that we can finance to create dramatic income. And they're there. They are very dramatic.
What does dramatic income look like?
I'll give you an example. For example, if you wanted to create a new export product into Kenya right now, around the ICT world of young people that are very highly educated, you just need to provide them with places across the country where they have access to the internet, and then have tutors and mentors to teach them how to work online. They can create an economy that is bigger than our tea industry in less than 3 years with proper support. So you're creating money where now suddenly you have got extra income to service your debt by leveraging on what you already have in your hands. And I think we fail to manage those opportunities. A company like Google got started about 20 years ago when we were still struggling with our debt, and right now Google is bigger than the size of our economy, you know, as a company. So there are the mitigation activities to make sure we are spending only the money we need to spend. We are cutting down our budget and making sure that the budget is balanced, but we are also creating opportunities for income that generate dramatic income. And there are many, many areas. If you stop animals in the 80% of Kenya that die every drought situation, and you stop those animals from dying by making sure that there is water and there is feeds available for those animals, you don't have to go and bail out those people again in just a few years. We know it's going to happen.
Okay, let me come back to you, Harun Wachira. I think the Deputy Governor, Mutahi Kahiga, is just about to speak. Let's listen in.
Our offices, rededicate our premises, rededicate our county unto God. The only reason churches are not closed on Sunday is because we have to keep reminding God every other Sunday that we still need Him. We still need His presence. We still need His guidance. We still need His Spirit. And if you remember very well, our governor, our late governor, Dr. Ahomega Kuru, used to remind us every other day that it is not by power, not by might, but by the Spirit of the living God. And that's why simply we were here to just come and rededicate our office, our offices, our county, our employees, our employers, every one of us back to God, because this is important. And maybe that is, I just needed to make that clarification, because I've seen in the newspapers, I've heard it over the media that we are doing cleansing. It's not about cleansing, it's about rededication. We had already done it, we were dedicated, we dedicated the premises, so we were merely coming to increase the dedication. Any questions?
A message to the people. Kindly, my name is Carol. Your message to the people of Nyeri County, your supporters and also naysayers, because they come in all different shapes and colors. As their new governor, what do you have to tell them kindly?
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, members of the press. Our message to the people of Nyeri is one: hope, 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 hope. Let's not lose hope. As we take over office today, as we take up the legal notice, the legal requirements and obligations and instruments. All I would want to say is that we are committed to the service of the people of Nyeri, and for once it is important to say that the only reason I know there is one or two still feeling uneasy is because I was elected as a deputy governor, and my governor was Dr. Wahome Gakuru. But now that he's not there, he had made his choices. He had gone round this county with more than 700,000 individuals and found that the only person he would have trusted, because all of you know that Dr. Wahome Gakuru was a doctor. He was a PhD holder, a wise man who had gone through and understood the law. And he knew clearly that in the event of his absence, and many times he used to say, I have no problem. I chose my deputy because I have a lot of confidence in him, and I will, even if I were to go out of the country, because that is something he used to remind us, that I will go out of this country to go seek for funds, I know I'll have left my county in the hands of an able man, and that able man is none other than Mutahi Kahiga. And so I want to tell the people of Nyeri, we are here, we want to work with you, we want to work towards the vision of a greater Nyeri that Dr. Wahome Gakuru continued to remind us. And even as he lies on his deathbed today, as he lies in the morgue where he is, we are committed towards helping him achieve the dream for Nyeri. So I want to tell the people of Nyeri, have hope. We will rededicate our services, our lives, and we lay down our lives to the service of the people. If you remember very well, in our acceptance speech on the day we took our first swearing in, Dr. Wahome Gakuru gave the vision of where he wants us to take Nyeri, and I remember saying these words, that we have only come to Nyeri not to enrich ourselves, not to come for material gain, but because we need to give back to this county that has nurtured us, gave birth to us, and made us whom we are. And that is the same message I want to send to the people of Nyeri, and to tell them, please have hope. We are headed where Wahome Gakuru wanted us to go, and therefore we will be there. But beyond everything else, God will take Nyeri where Nyeri is supposed to be. Thank you. Yes, they are here.
You know, he has spoken it well. We are here for the dedication. That is that.
Once I take over, I'll make up a decision, because I can work from any corner. It doesn't matter which office I am in. But I'll make a decision whether I want to come and sit here and around the spirit of my brother, or do I want to remain where? We'll make that decision, and when I invite you for the next press conference, you will definitely know where I am. Yes.
Perhaps Bishop, on behalf of the clergy, just tell us what is the essence of this ceremony before a leader takes office, a new leader takes office.
Okay, to rededicate is to set apart for special purpose. We were here, we did some dedication, so we were coming here to affirm the same, that the work must continue. These people need synergy, and that's why we're here. They needed some assurance, they also needed hope, and that's why we are here.
So maybe it's also important to say this. We are believers, we are Christians. We are Christians, and this is part of our faith. That as we come here, we want the men of God to walk this journey with us. I think it's that clear.
Does it mean that that is actually now the breakage from the past, from now it takes over?
The document which guides us, called the Book for Excellence, the Bible, it has given that as a symbol which we can use. Oil of anointing is a symbol of the Holy Spirit, and I did give you Genesis chapter number 28 as 18, Isaiah chapter number 10 verse 27. I did also talk about James chapter number 5. So those are the areas that we are drawing our strength from. So what we are doing is part of our faith.
So now we have a clean breakdown.
Not clean. There was at no time this place was unclean. We were here for rededication. And the dedication simply means to be set apart.
Maybe I need to tell you, I have a very important visitor who has come to join with us.
Thank you.
He is a pastor, but more so, it's important that I tell you, this is His Excellency, Peter Damberi, the Deputy Governor of Waiguru. He's come to stand with his fellow deputy, and I welcome him. Welcome, brother.
Thank you.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Yes. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. We were just doing the dedication before we can now move on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You might have a message from maybe the governor of Kenya.
Yeah, maybe I know you, but it wasn't for this place. It was for the message down there. Aseme kidogo basi. Asalimia wananchi wenyewe.
Thank you, people of Nyeri, His Excellency Kahiga Mutahi, and also the clergy who are here this morning. I come to represent the people of Kirinyaga, to stand with you at such a time, and to tell you that these things happen, but we are together. More so, I'm happy that the clergy has chosen to do this in noble cause, because some of these things are not normal. And we want to believe that the cleansing that has been done is going to be good for the people of Nyeri and the entire nation at large. Otherwise, for now, we've just come to be with you. I don't want to talk much, but receive greetings from My Excellency, Madam Waiguru, who has asked me to come and represent her here, and also the people of Kirinyaga. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Asante.
Yes. So maybe you need to know we are also expecting Kipchumba Murkomen and a few others. We are expecting Governor Kiambu, Governor Muranga, and Governor Laikipia. We expect them to be with us in the course of the day. So thank you very much.
Well, there we go. That is what has been going on in Nyeri County this morning. Prayers at the county government offices. They are now in the governor's office, where Deputy Governor Mutahi Kahiga, who this afternoon will be sworn in as governor, has been joined by the Deputy Governor of Kirinyaga, Peter Damberi, members of the clergy. They've had prayers, a few speeches, and now all focus, of course, will be on the grounds just outside that office, where the Deputy Governor will be sworn in later today. Let's now cross over to Mombasa County. Remember, we've been talking about Kenya's debt situation. Is it something that the people of Kenya should be worried about? Or does the government have it fully in control? And of course, the feeling is that Kenyans should be worried about the debt that the government has taken on to fund infrastructure, recurrent expenditure, etc. Let's now get an update from Asha Bikidusa. Asha, good morning. What do Mombasa residents have to say about Kenya's debt?
Coming to you live from Mombasa, and I'll be speaking to some residents from this place who will be giving me their feeling concerning if Kenya is turning into a borrowing nation. You remember that despite the borrowing spree which Kenya has been into, there's some infrastructure development which has been there. So I'll be asking some Kenyans if they think the development are as per the loans which have been borrowed by the nation. Naam, tueleze majina yako na hisia zako kuhusiana na hatua ya Kenya kupata kuwa na madeni. Je, unahisi tuko sawa ama ni sawa kwa kuwa kuna maendeleo ambayo yamefanyika? Angalia kamera.
Kwa majina yangu naitwa Gilbert Ngosi, ni mkazi hapa Mombasa Kisauni. Kwa kusema ukweli kabisa, katika hali ambayo tuliopo katika nchi yetu ya Kenya, ni makosa sana kwa serikali kwenda kuomba misaada kila siku. Kwa sababu Mungu ametubariki na vitu vingi sana. Mungu ametubariki na misitu, tuko na bahari hapa, tuko na maji, tuko na mashamba mazuri. Hii mambo ya kuomba vitu misaada hapa na pale ni serikali mbaya na uongozi duni, ndio sababu tunakuwa maskini kuomba.
Asante sana. Thank you very much. And we are joined by another resident. Tueleze majina yako na hisia zako kuhusiana na masuala ya madeni. Je, unadhani tuko sawa kama nchi tunafaa kuomba ili kuwe na maendeleo ama tumepitisha? Angalia kamera.
Madeni ambao tunakoba tukifanyia maendeleo ambao ni infrastructure. Na bila infrastructure katika nchi yoyote, bila barabara mzuri, bila stima mzuri, bila reli mzuri, hakuna biashara inayoendelea. Hakuna industry ambayo inaweza kuja hapa iendelee vizuri kama hakuna electricity, hakuna reli. Kwa mfano sasa hivi tuko na reli ambayo inakimbia sasa hivi, na wale wengi wanakubali kwamba hiyo reli inafanya kazi mzuri mpaka hata zile gari zilikuwa zinaenda Nairobi zimeanza kufunga kazi. Angalia sisi independence 1963 hatuchai kuwa na reli ambao inaweza kutembea within 4 hours mpaka Nairobi. Tulikuwa na reli nyingine ukipanda within 12 hours haujui kama utafika Nairobi. Kwa hivyo ile maendeleo ambao zile pesa tunakopa sahihi, ingawa tunaona matokeo yake kwa muda mfupi atakuwa, lakini in long term investment ambao tunaona in future hii nchi itakuwa ni nchi ambayo itasonga mbele. Kwa hivyo kama tunakopa mateni kuyafanyia vitu ambao vitatufaidi kesho, tukiangalia infrastructure ni stima, ni barabara nzuri na so many other things. So hii mateni tunakopa tumeona ikifanya kazi, na kuna wakati ule tulikuwa tukobi hakuna kitu tulikuwa tunafanya. Kwa hivyo acha tukope na tufanye infrastructure ambayo itapromote industry na mambo mengine.
Asante sana. Itakuwa tunaweza kujiunga na mkazi mwingine. Majina yako na hisia zako kuhusiana na hatua ya Kenya kuwepo na madeni.
Kwa majina naitwa Babu. Mimi ningesema kitu kimoja. Makosa ambayo inafanya wale ambao wanatusaidia kwa msaada ni kuwa hawahakikishi kuwa ile pesa wanaotuletea, je, inatekeleza miradi ambayo tumeamua ama tumeomba kwa ajili. Kwa mfano Eurobond imekuja Kenya, tumesikia scandals ambazo zimekuwa. Kuna wale wafisadi ama viongozi, ma cabinet secretaries wamekwenda na billions of shillings na hakuna hatua imechukuliwa na serikali. Tunaambiwa about infrastructure. Standard Gauge Railway was meant to open the northern or southern corridor. Hii corridor Rwanda, Burundi and other countries zilikuwa zifunguliwe na Standard Gauge Railway. Tupate msaada Kenya kusudi tuenuke kiuchumi. Kitu kingine ni serikali iliyoko mamlakani haitaki kuwekeza. Kivipi kuinua miundo msingi, kilimo, kuinua hali ya uchumi, kuhakikisha Wakenya wamepata kazi. Ajira imekuwa duni katika Kenya. Kuna wachache wanaofaidika na pesa. Juzi finance minister amejitokea wazi akisema in finance there is no cash. They are going again kwenda kwa Eurobond. Bila kutueleza another Eurobond iliyopita imefanya nini. Tena Eurobond ingine inakuja. Itafanya nini kwa Wakenya? Je, sisi ambao taxpayers, is it account to our money? We are paying taxes but we don't get our return. Is the government working? What we want is stalemate. Ile hali ambayo iliyoko ya kisiasa sasa hivi inazidi kutuumiza, na serikali inanyamaza kimya ikiangalia tu, inasema pesa pesa pesa. Pesa je, kama haitusaidii ina maana gani katika Kenya?
Thank you very much. As you've heard, Waiga, there are mixed views from the residents here. Some of them are thinking that we are overborrowing as a nation, and there are some who are saying that although we are overborrowing, but they are seeing the developments of the money being borrowed. And now back to you, Wahiga, in studio.
Wow, divergent views there from residents of Mombasa County, but nevertheless concerns about the economy, and that has come out quite clearly. Let me read some of your SMSs now. Moses Lubanga from Nairobi says, I think the economy is really failing, and I urge the leaders to impose strict structural adjustment programs the government ought to operate in order to able to conveniently service debt. Government on its part should try to cut on its expenditure, ensure maximum revenue creation. Desperate times call for desperate measures. While Sir Nixon Dugire from Kinderuma says, if we all support our government, each in his own small way, like praying to overcome evil, we shall eventually have a fat economy. I have not made that up. That is an SMS from Nixon Dugire, who believes that through prayer, we shall eventually have a fat economy. Also some feedback here. The discussion on, and this is to use something that Maurice talked about, debt to GDP. And looking at the fact that Kenya now is at what, 54.4%, meaning that if you were to sell Kenya as a going concern, you will only get cash back 50% of Kenya's value, because the rest would go to people that we've borrowed from. Someone has raised an interesting discussion here. They are saying, if we compare Kenya with other countries, we may not be in as bad a situation as we think they are. They have quoted an IMF report from 2016. Algeria, 39.5%. South Africa, 48.5%. Ghana, 52.9%. Germany, 68.3%. Again, this is from an IMF report. Angola, 71.6%. The UK, 90.6%. And Japan, which again I find hard to believe, 239.4%. And of course the question is that is this something that we have blown out of proportion? Could there be a possibility, and again, it's important that we look at all angles, that we are blowing this out of proportion, that other countries are in even a worse state than we are, and yet somehow, managing to carry on with development and so forth. Maurice, what's your take?
I don't think it has been blown out of proportion, because if you take for example Japan, if you had to give Japan and Kenya issuing an instrument in the global markets, which one would you invest in?
Obviously Japan,
because despite the 200% debt to GDP, at least they have a plan and they have a framework on how they are going to utilize the proceeds from the borrowings. That's the main issue. We're not saying that borrowing is bad, but borrowing without purpose, borrowing without how money are going to be used is the issue. And number two, look at countries like Algeria. Kenya is, when you talk of Kenya, when you talk of Africa, talk of East Africa, I can't compare Kenya with all those other countries. A very diversified economy. Remember the person from Mombasa asking, why are we borrowing with all these resources we have? Look at South Africa, a very developed economy, again ahead of Kenya at 48. Kenya, you're at 54. So there's disparity in terms of where we are in some of the state of our economy, and again how we are accumulating this debt. That's the issue. The issue is how we are borrowing and how we are utilizing the proceeds from debt.
Okay. Harun?
Yeah, I think looking at indicators and comparing ourselves with other countries, we may not look bad. We have 21.7% of debt to revenue. We have 12.8% of debt to exports. You can say that's not bad. The problem is, are we credible? If we are already appearing like we might default, that already puts question marks on those people who are loaning us. Number two, are we efficiently executing the money that we borrow into programs that create income? So, and I think I have to say that I don't think we should always compare ourselves with the worst. You should compare yourself with the best. It says, if I want to be seen, I had better be seen comparing myself to the best. And at the moment, if we compare ourselves with the best, we don't look good. Because we should be comparing ourselves with the Singapores, with the Malaysians of this world, who have fewer resources, are doing way much better because they did the right thing. And I think we should be saying, let's do those kind of things that those countries did to get to where they are. And we are not doing that.
And we're not doing that.
Yes.
Eliud from Kitale, he's worried. Very sad to see our country heading to that direction. And still some questions about the previous Eurobond. Again, this was a big talking point. In fact, if you go to the Treasury website, there are comprehensive statements on what was done with the Eurobond. But of course, to some, still not convinced that Eurobond was fully accounted for. And I'll read some of the other SMSs even as we carry on. Is it possible to remove politics from business and the discussion around debt? For example, we've talked about austerity measures. We've talked about dealing with corruption. But sometimes when you have to deal with corruption as a leader, it might include isolating political allies who have been accused of corruption, isolating governors. For example, if you're in the ruling party or in the opposition, you have governors that are friendly to you. If there is corruption in their counties, you have to act on it, while at the same time ensuring that you don't alienate your support base in that county. How difficult then is it to carry out austerity measures while at the same time maintaining your political clout? Let me start with you, Maurice.
It is difficult because it puts you as a leader in a position where you even have to take such measures against most of your friends. But what defines leadership is the decision that you make. And what defines leadership is whatever people will, when they remember your name, what they'll think of. So I think the leadership needs to take that painful and decisive decision, first of all, to deal with corruption. I think the money that we lose through corruption can even help us in terms of servicing this debt. And that's the thing that we need to deal with. It will involve a lot of political decisions, some of them painful, but it's the only way out for us to ensure that at least resources are used efficiently efficiently to improve the living standard for Kenyans.
Okay.
Yes. My take on that one is that right now I would say a president in his second term has a tremendous opportunity to deal with corruption.
Of course, depending on what the Supreme Court rules.
Well, whatever it is. But if the president at the highest level decides to deal with corruption and begins to call the shots downwards, he can finish corruption within a very, very, very short time. I think when people believe that the guys at the top will not take action when corruption happens, then that's why everybody will go in that direction. I think, Wahiga, you may remember the time when President Kibaki became president, Kenyans went on the streets to arrest corrupt policemen.
That's correct.
And for about 7 months, when the President Kibaki was not very active, because after the accident, Kenyans believed that we were on the way towards eradicating corruption. But when news begin to show
of corruption at the highest level,
corruption at the highest level,
yes,
that is the time when suddenly corruption thrived. I was involved with government at that time as a person working inside government, and I know how much it hit me when those who are in government suddenly realized they can get away with corruption, and I was fighting corruption at that time. I became an enemy to many. So I think fighting corruption requires a very tough stance, but it has to happen right at the top. Downwards, everybody else will execute what the guys at the top say.
Okay.
Yes.
This is a discussion that we can obviously continue for the better part of the day, but in the interest of time, we will have to end it there. I want to give you each a chance to make your closing statements. How would you like to finish this discussion? The way forward, recommendations to Treasury and so forth, and also what Kenyans should be thinking about at this time and demanding from their leaders, not just national leaders, because for many reasons it may be hard to access your national leader, but county governments as well. Maurice, let me start with you.
I think if you look at the governance structure for Kenya, we have 47 county governments. I think even them, they need to accept their position in the constitution that they were meant to devolve resources to improve on the living standard for Kenyans. And I think one of the first avenues in terms of improving efficiency in the government is to deal with the wastage of resources at the county government level.
Okay.
Then number two, we need to come down to the national government, look at our system of government to ensure that is it the most optimal system of government that we can have. Then now we need to improve the operating environment to ensure that we create jobs, empower Kenyans again to in turn pay taxes and fund the government operation to stop over relying on foreign debt.
Okay, and Harun, for you.
Yeah, I would like to cite my few big worries and my few big opportunities for this country.
Okay.
The big worries for me, one of them is the income disparities in the country. Whatever it is that we are doing with money, whether we get that money from borrowed money or whether we are getting that money from earned income, we need to address the disparities that are very, very big right now in Kenya. My other big worry is corruption, which we have discussed, but around it also, we need to discuss the loss-making agriculture. Whether you are looking at agriculture at the pastoralist level or agriculture at the small-scale level.
It contributes to 25% of our GDP.
It contributes to 25% of our GDP, but it is a loss-making activity. It needs to be turned around and become profitable. Now, finally, on my big worries is the fact that whatever it is we are doing, we are not investing in technology, we are not investing in mechanization, we are not investing in the things that can springboard us into the future that we are competing with. And when now talking about opportunities, the first opportunity is that of going tech in everything we do. Whether it is in creating employment, we need to get our kids competing with the Indians and with the Estonians on the programming or design levels.
Will we need to borrow money now?
I don't think we need to borrow money. We just need to create the platforms that make it possible. Every county government with the budget they have can be able to establish, for example, a working lab that is fully connected to the internet and use the same money that they have to coach young people in that particular area to work in the international front. In terms of mechanization, a tractor that weeds a small garden costs something like 300,000 shillings. And no, 30,000 shillings. And that 30,000 shillings will make it possible for a small-scale farmer to look after even 5 acres without having to depend on very expensive labor. That is right now the situation. So the things we need to do are not difficult, but they need to be focused towards moving us to the big tech. Then we need to
briefly
to make sure that we have sort of like stabilized the 80% of Kenya that is currently marginalized right now by making sure that there is water, and I have already mentioned sand dams as a key to making that happen, which can be done very easily, and making pasture available during the times when there is no drought, so that when drought happens, we don't have to go back.
Okay.
And, so I think the things that we need to do finally is the value addition of what we are already doing in the productive areas. I would like to mention to you, for example, that the coffee pulp is as valuable as the coffee bean itself if it is value added, because it is being used all over the world. It can be used all over the world as a source of potassium. But we are throwing it away as a country.
Okay.
So things like those.
So you have worries, but you say that there are corresponding opportunities that if Kenya was to quickly grasp and take seriously, then maybe we could switch the conversation around Kenya's debt.
Correct.
Thank you so much. Maurice Oduor, investment manager, Saiton. Harun Washira, social entrepreneur. I believe this is a topic we'll be discussing over the next couple of days as we begin to put politics on the back burner, hopefully, and focus on discussions that will build our country moving forward. And to everyone who has SMS'd us, thank you so much once again. Let's see what's happening in Nyeri County, where we know all focus will shortly be shifting to that grounds outside there. And you can already see preparations clearly underway for the swearing in of the Deputy Governor, Mutahi Kahiga, which will take place this afternoon. It's all systems go. Just by what we can see on our screen. You're watching Citizen Extra live on Citizen TV. We will be right back. Let's now take a quick break.